Welcome back to this week's episode of From Idea to Impact, the show that explores the journeys of entrepreneurs turning their ideas into real world change. I'm your host, Quentin McDougald, and I'm the founder of the Nothing But Web Entrepreneur Network. This week's guest is none other than Chris Prescott. He is the founder and CEO of MPact Mentoring, a nonprofit organization based out of Connecticut. Chris, thanks for joining us today on the show.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about MPact Mentoring?
MPact Mentoring Inc. is an organization geared towards helping you reach your full potential, mind, body, and spirit, in and out the classroom, in and out of the game. We use sports as a catalyst to keep kids involved with and engaged with academics, mentoring, and career readiness. And so we use a sports and recreation piece to really gear in on, how do we develop not only physically, but in other areas of our lives as well, and programming that connects kids with professionals to help them navigate, each stage of their lives. And then once the ball stops bouncing, which it will, is like, what is this pivot like, and what is the life after sports, and what are the post-secondary plans that we can support them with as well. So just trying to give a holistic approach to support to kids reaching their full potential.
Listen, that's phenomenal. That's something that's very needed in this community. I know growing up myself and others that are watching playing sports, we always had that goal to get to the NBA or NFL top level, but no one ever talked about what happens if you don't make it. No one ever breaks down the statistics about how many people actually make it. You just feel like you nice in your community, your area, and you don't realize there's like a million other people nice in their community too. And so that's very beneficial because we all need a plan going forward. My first question for you tonight is, what inspired you to start MPact Mentoring?
I think it's that right there, as you just said. I think I needed that as a kid. I was a kid that grew up not in a sports family. My dad was a pastor. My mom was HR director. Um, and so I didn't really come from a sports family. I had two older sisters, so but I just loved basketball. I don't know where. Like I think my sisters, uh, I think used to play basketball. They weren't like great or anything, but
Yeah.
during half times of their games when I was much younger, like 4 or 5, I was just go out there and start shooting. Then my mom had to give me a hoop, and then once I got the hoop, it was over. Like I put the hoop in the garage if it got cold out, or I'll just be out there 6 o'clock in the morning, and neighbors complaining, and so it was just kind of bred in me. And so you can substitute basketball with any kind of interest or talents that kids have. And so, um, sports, there's so many different transferable skills that sports allows us, former athletes and current athletes, to be successful in other areas in our lives, so especially professionally. The leadership, the dedication, the teamwork, the time management, you know, um, the coachability. So these are things that, like I said, transfer into us being successful in other areas of our lives. So the story behind and the reason Impact was created was to support that and to uphold that, um, to a standard of consistency and efficiency, to where we're keeping kids busy, we're keeping them safe, we're utilizing their interests and their talents, but then also addressing needs and providing resources and providing support in other areas of their lives. Because how many times do you see a sports person not really make it because, all right, well, yeah, they got the talent, but him or her may not have the grades or may not have the family stability or
Mhm.
foundation that allows them to be successful in school, to be able to get it done and qualified and stuff like that. So that's why it was created. I was a kid that was like in cultivated in a village, a sports village. Back then, like programming and recreation was really strong. It was everything. There was a league to do every week, and uh, following that, there was AAU, and then there's church leagues, and then there's camps, and there was just so much to do. So I'm a um, just a combination and a collective of all those experiences that I've had that I know made me successful, not just sports, but in life. And I'm just trying to redistribute that in my own way, in my new way, using my leveraging of connections um, and my spaces that I occupy, personally and professionally, with some people that can help me help make change. And so I think also a part of that is to inspire kids to that you can make change in your own way, and um, that success can look in different ways, based on how you spread yourself, and you hone in, cultivating the other areas of your life. And so that's pretty much what was the inspiration of starting Impact. It was I'm a product of a large village that helped me coaches, trainers, mentors, um, peers, parents in the community. Um, so I'm just trying to use that village and kind of spread it to the next generation.
Listen, I love that because the whole community aspect. I love the fact that you mentioned that you're getting back to that. I know growing up, we had constant things to do. Now kids nowadays is kind of like, oh, you want to play basketball? You want to do this? There's lack of motivation, and I know just in the school system alone, it's just hard to get kids motivated. So if you're taking the educational component, matching it with the interest that they're actually in, I think these kids will have a phenomenal experience within you. The next question for you is, were some of the challenges that you had when starting Impact Mentoring? Because every business, every organization has a couple of challenges. What are one or two challenges that you had starting Impact Mentoring?
Um, I think obviously number one challenge everybody's gonna say is the money, right? Like
Mm.
starting out and putting the little bit of money that I had in this at the time, 2020 was a pandemic, so it was kind of a unknown time, right? I started it during the pandemic because um, the seasons were canceled, school was canceled. They took the rims off the hoops and parks, so it was like really time to see, all right, like how can I support the kids in other areas, um, and keep them engaged, because kids weren't showing up to school. It was a really wicked time as far as like development for kids, because they lost out on a bunch of opportunities and resources that they normally get. So um the challenge was when I first started doing this, obviously the money is just like, like I'm not an established organization, and you know, I wasn't geared at that point to be conscious of where the funding was, especially in large pots that I can, make real change in and with. And so I think the challenge was it was just kind of being innovative and using the resources that I have. And I think just being creative and not just saying that, okay, like the only resources that I need is money. Like sometimes it's leveraging equipment, and sometimes leveraging, other people's money as business 101, right? Um, but then leveraging like parents wanting to come out and leverage their business and their talents to help, the leagues that I was doing, and the camps that I was running, and the programs that I was doing. So it kind of, it was a beautiful time for like me to not have much. But then, like I said, here's where that village comes into play.
Definitely.
Uh, and then the second thing is just when like things got too big at the time, at first, like, you know, things are catching wildfires, like not even
Yeah.
having the foundation or the people in place to really, we just kind of, I'm just kind of pulling people in and getting things done, rather than having like that stable foundation of a unit of personnel around you day to day, and having that structure. So that kind of gets a little tricky at first when you're trying to, make things happen, and you're renting gyms and using people money and
Yeah.
paying for same things, and you just have to get it done, and sometimes by yourself. And so at least logistically, like I said, I have people to come in to actually help with the events and leagues and stuff too. So yeah, just not having the money, and not
Yeah.
having the people to help. That was it.
Listen, that in itself is a success story because, like you said, the one of the things I picked up from what you're saying is that it just caught fire fast, and that usually what happens. So a lot of people can start things and they think in their mind like, hey, they're always planning like, okay, this is going to happen, and then they always have to struggle and kind of backpedal and figure out and kind of reinnovate themselves. But you had the opposite. You had people like, hey, I love it, I want to help, I want to help. So it's always great to have a plan. So kudos to you with those success stories. What's
Yeah.
one success story that you like to share about whether it was the kid, a kid or a group of kids or organization within your organization that you did? What's one success story that you have that you want to share?
Um, Success story. I just think of all like the testimonials. I was like, building the website and stuff like that, looking over and reading over some of the things that the kids have said, looking at videos and looking at, you know, them, just expressing how happy they are to be there and how much they got out of it, and um, how much they can't wait to come back next year,
Mhm.
and how they're going to tell their friends. So those are the things that I'm just like, those are success stories to me, because um, as long as they feel like, they're having fun and they're growing, and it's somewhere they want to be. That's all I needed, And my slogan, one of my programs is called "Be Who You Needed When You Were Younger," and it's "Be Who You Needed When You Were," in short. And so um, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to be who I needed, and I needed somebody to kind of set up things in a way to where, like, all right, camp back then was, all right, you got the drills, you got the stations, you got the games, okay, so but I think now in 2024, our kids need more.
Yeah,
Our kids
definitely.
need to be exposed to more that's going to not only develop them, athletically, but it doesn't just end there. And so that's those are the success stories that I just like think about. It's nothing really like dollar related, or
Mhm.
you know, it's just when I look back and see myself in those kids, thankful to be there. That's literally the whole point of this.
Listen, there's a lot of success stories. So, like for example, like when I'm doing my research, I went to the website. Me being an educator myself, I was on your website going through, and then one of the kids came over. He goes, "I know that guy," and I'm like, "What guy?" And he was like, "The guy right there." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "No, I went to that camp." He was like, "Why am I not in the video?" And then I'm like, "What? You went to the camp?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Mister, this is the best experience ever." He's like, "We got to meet an NBA, former NBA athlete. He actually
Yep,
got to talk to us. He talked to us
yep.
about." And I'm like, so do you really enjoyed it? He's like, listen, this is the best feeling of my life. He was like, he just the
Wow.
things he said, it resonated with me. And he just like, listen, he encouraged me to realize that there's more than basketball. He was speaking towards you specifically because I'm like, well, I had to, test him a little bit. Wait, which guy was a former NBA? He's like, no, that guy right there. He's like, what was it? Mahmoud.
Mahmoud Abdul Rauf.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I'm like, so I said him. He go, no, not
Coming
him,
back
Chris
too. Yep.
Prescott. He could not him, Chris Prescott. He was like, oh, he's like, wow, you know him? I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah. Well, if you know him, he's like, text him right now and tell him that, hey, that's the best experience I had. So you have a lot of success stories out here, man. So
That's dope.
definitely, you are inspiring and doing what you're doing, making an impact with your business.
Man, that's
So
dope to hear, man. That's
yeah,
dope to
so
hear.
hats off to you. You never know where inspiration comes from.
Yeah, man. I know he's tight because a lot of the kids are like, yo, why I didn't get a mixtape, or why I didn't get that? I'm like, bro,
Exactly. Like, well, why was I in the
that
video?
part.
He was like, yeah, I'm nice. I'm like, man, sit out.
Yeah, so now that's good to hear, bro. That's good to hear. Those are the live things that like keep me going. Cause we used to talk about like the stuff that with like we early on the struggles, those are still struggles, you know what I mean? Like everything isn't a guarantee, and it's a
Yeah,
constant
definitely.
chase and a constant rebuild and evaluation to get better. And so yeah, man, those struggles never go, but that stuff right there just that keeps you going. That keeps you
It,
going.
it creates to the legend that you're becoming, Chris. So,
Oh
again,
man. And
hats off, man.
I know
Hats
some
off.
legends, man. Now
Listen,
we're not even
listen,
close.
listen. You'll be there. You'll be there. Like I said, like he was more excited to meet Chris Prescott than, he's like, oh, you didn't really know him. But so, what separates Impact Mentoring from other mentoring agencies? So, what are one or two things that set you apart?
Yeah, I think it's just that we're thinking other than sports and how we can develop the kids. We're thinking that um other sports is important for sure. We're going to utilize sports, like I said, to keep them engaged
Mhm.
with developing in other areas of their lives. But I think what makes us different is we're really honing in on those other areas of development, and thinking, how do we develop programs as well that support those, um, and how do we support them, like I said, academically? How do we support them social emotionally? How do we support them career wise, throughout their scholastic careers and certainly after? And so,
Mhm.
um, so that's what makes us different. I think putting those systems in place to where keeping a kid busy all year, and keeping the kids engaging with them and their family through different programs, kind of sets us apart. I think some programs may be like, you know, good with one or two of those things,
Mhm.
but really we want to be great at supporting all areas of a kid life, all areas of, in and out the classroom, on and off the court, in and out the home. And so So yeah, I think that's what makes it different. We're just thinking beyond the athlete. We're thinking the whole athlete for sure,
Mhm.
but we're thinking the whole person. How can we be a champion not only in sports but in life?
Listen, I think that definitely sets you guys apart because I know of other mentoring agencies and different things that's going on. They, like you said, they only focus on one aspect. But I think if you're tying in the interest of the kid and you're getting ready for beyond sports life, because that's a big adjustment. So if you guys are preparing them now, your staff, your team, that's amazing. So
Yeah,
where
I think it
what's
comes
your vision for the future of Impact Mentor?
the vision of the future is creating like a really solid foundation in the Hartford County,
Mm,
obviously extending into other parts of Connecticut, where we're talking about doing these programming, having these partnerships and these contracts to be able to service youth and in many different ways. Um, and then expanding our reach out of state and beyond, and then taking the approach to where we want to turn this. How can we support kids not only in person but virtually as well?
mm,
And so, the future of that will be just kind of a nonstop engagement, reach, support, resource feeder um, through systems and programs that we can just support kids. And obviously, having our own place to do that is somewhere in the future, however that looks. And yeah, man, just trying to take things to the big, take community events to the next level. I think my job is too to how can I create through these programs, through these camps and panels and conferences and things. How can I bring, like I said, people and my resources that keep these kids excited and motivated and inspired to do better, like the Muhammad Makdouz Aruf,
mm.
Abdul Marufs. Like I'm talking to several NBA players and WNBA players about coming and for a camp this summer as well for multiple camps that we're having this summer. So hopefully we can lock some great names in. Like I said, some people that our kids don't normally get to see.
Yeah,
I think that's my job is to like how can we bring people here that our kids don't have the access to see? We got kids right here in our backyard that haven't even been to a UConn game.
that's
And
true.
so we don't have an NBA team here. And so our kids miss out on the opportunity to have the New York Knicks or New York Nets or Boston Celtics players circulating around the community, if not going to like let alone going to their games like other communities have. And
Yeah.
so it's hard to really keep our kids focused and engaged when you can't really see it in front of you. And so yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. And that's some of the ways you're doing it.
Listen, so those are watching, those big sponsors, those big funders, you hear them. He wants to take the kids to the Brooklyn Nets. I'm a Brooklyn Nets fan. Take them to the Brooklyn Nets game. Take them to the Boston Celtics. Yeah, take them to those games. So if you're watching and you want to
Too.
sponsor or Laker game, listen, we can
Take them to
go.
Cali.
Listen, we're all we listen. We need flights. We need travel, lodging, so we could take these kids to go see the Lakers in LA. So we're gonna definitely, if you're watching, let's make it happen for Chris.
That'll
Um,
be a life-changing experience for some kids. Can
Listen,
you
if they were to
imagine?
listen, most kids have never left I don't know what the exact statistic, but most kids, let's say in a large city, have never left that city.
Can you imagine a trip where a student is getting, or a student athlete is getting, yes, you go to a Laker game, but what if we stop in and see the front office and talk about the business side of things? And what if they see some colleges or community colleges or universities or trade schools in that area that we can expose them to seeking higher education there while, being in a different space that may, motivate them and cultivate their interests and talents too. So
Listen,
that could
that's
be
the
a
future.
powerful trip.
That's the
Yeah.
future of the Impact Center. I'm gonna call it the Impact Center.
There you go.
You can go with the Impact Center.
There you
So,
go.
what's some advice you have for another aspiring entrepreneur that wants to create a business or organization that impacts the youth? So, what's one piece of advice you would give based on your journey?
Hmm. I think relationships. I think just utilize and leverage relationships. I think relationships will take you farther than degrees. They'll take you further than your own actual money, in some aspects, and I think that's what it is. Just I think I'm if I can give any advice is like yo meet people, connect, network. Somebody something that you've been dreaming of for a long time, or had in your mind, or had in a vision, or God put in your heart for such a long time somebody can just in one conversation say, yes, I can make that happen. And that's happened to me several times. And so, yeah, the piece of advice is like, if you are a man or woman of faith, keep God first and keep God in everything you do, every endeavor, every mission, every project, every person that you deal with when you're talking about your purpose. And so, and then have faith and do things, do the work, manifest, but do the work and leverage relationships. Yeah, those will take you further than anything materially. Yeah.
So relationships, I totally agree. Relationship is better than revenue. I've heard that somewhere,
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely it's the truth. Just you and I, the way we connected, just through relationships and knowing one person and reaching out. So yeah, there's definitely value in relationships. So
Absolutely.
as we come into a close, it's been a great conversation with you. Um, what's your goal for impact mentoring to make an impact in the world as we go through in the future? So what's one thing? What's your goal? I know you mentioned about the Impact Center, the naming rights, the Impact Center. So what's your one goal to make an impact in the community we live in today, or just the world? Let's go worldwide in the world.
I think it's just creating more experiences like the young man that you met and saying like I had such a good time. I met somebody I would never had contact with. I learned more than I thought I was going to learn. Just
Mhm.
creating more of those stories and those instances for not only kids in Connecticut, but kids outside of town. And
Yeah,
how can we do that in other areas? And how can we continue to do that in different ways? And so that's what comes to mind. Just being able to get more so we can give more is another thing. Just collaborating with different partners that can help our mission in so many different ways. Like I said, it's not just about money. Um, leveraging just equipment and personnel and other resources, people wise, and those things go a really, really long way as well. So just trying to keep that going and do things that like people want to be a part of, I
right.
just want to do things that people want to be a part of because everybody wants to be a part of something, bigger than themselves. So
That is true. That is true.
yeah.
So this is the show From Idea to Impact. At the end of every show, I always ask my guests, what's one or two words that you want to leave the audience to help them make an impact in the world? Or
So you
piece of
said
advice?
impact about 10 times. I was gonna say that, so I'm gonna leave you with that. 2 words.
One or two words, could be three. Something that they walk
Um,
away from here in the show. In the show, it's gonna pop up on the screen.
uh, future. Think about the future. I'm always
Think about
thinking
the
about
future.
like, yeah,
That's true.
thinking about like, um, um, success and uh and faith.
Future success and faith. I like that. I
Yeah.
like that. So, Chris, before we wrap, tell everybody where they can get a hold of you, information, social media, website. Go for it.
Yeah, so you can follow us on our social media, Instagram, MPact Mentoring Inc. MPact without the I, MPact Mentoring Inc. We have a Facebook. You can search us on there as well. Um, we have a beautiful website. Uh, if you need somebody to do your website, I got a guy.
Got a
Uh,
guy. I know a guy too.
know a guy. So y'all just reach out to me after I give you this information. So it's www.impactct.com, www.mpactct.com. And yeah, man, check us out. We got merchandise coming, we got camps coming, we got business cohorts coming, we got
Okay.
um, a conference coming in May. We had to postpone because we just had to take that caught wildfire. We got to take that to the next level. So community conversations with parents at the end of the summer to figure out, what can we do to keep the youth inspired and leverage, their input on, what's needed. And basketball league got a partnership with an NBA team. I'm gonna do some junior NBA leagues here.
All right.
Uh a lot, yeah. Just yeah,
Listen, the
yeah,
future is bright. The
yeah.
future.
Stay tuned.
Listen, as
Stay
as he
tuned.
said, stay tuned. Impact Mentor is definitely making an impact in the community and is soon to be making an impact in the world that you live in today. I'm your host, Quentin McDougald, and this has been another episode of From Idea to Impact. Chris, thank you for joining us tonight. Appreciate you. Enjoy your day, everybody.